Welcome to Campfire Chronicles, episode number 20. I'm Robby.
My name's Andrew.
And last time we were talking about our resolutions, the channel, and we did a live Q&A. And we had the whole gang last time, but it's just us two this time.
Yep.
And why don't you talk a little bit about what everybody's opinion was on how we should, like, because we had come up with things like doing top 10 videos, stuff like that, and people had pretty strong reaction. So
I think it was pretty clear that like most people did not want to see that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a relief to me. Like,
no,
they don't want to see.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah. Like, nobody wants to see more gear reviews on YouTube.
Yeah.
Top 10 lists are boring. And actually, I was thinking about how, like, every time we've come to a decision like this, the right decision in hindsight is always to go with what we think is right instead of, like, what we think would appeal to people.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like whenever you try to do something that you think people will like, rather than just do what comes naturally that you like, it always seems to backfire for us. Like, I mean, it seems to work for other people just fine, but for us,
It's like Greedo's curse or something.
it's just like back in like when I was younger, and then you'd always try to do stuff to impress girls. And then it would never work. And you're like, why isn't this working? And then you just be yourself, and then you can find like the right girls, and you're like, oh, okay.
Going along with that, it's like the old adage of like, whenever you're not available or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Suddenly, I think there is like something to that, where if you're not trying as hard to achieve something, or like not trying in the sense, and this kind of goes into something else we're going to talk about, but if you're not trying in the sense of like going against what comes naturally, then
that's we used to talk about that all the time. What's that Wu Wei concept, or Wei Wu Wei?
Yeah, Wu Wei. Yeah,
it's like effort without effort.
Yeah. Effortless action or whatever.
Yeah, it's such a tricky thing. But yeah, people definitely said just stick to your main videos, don't do clickbait. Don't do gear reviews, which is funny. We did a gear review right after that.
Like, right, yeah.
That sleeping bag review, that one was a long time in the making. We got that from Outdoor Vitals like in June, or maybe it was April of 2017. But I mean, it was a 0-degree bag, so couldn't really test it till the winter, but we had to do that at some point. So, okay, so we came up with some topics today that we kind of wanted to talk about, and one of them, I guess, maybe is semi-related to the channel. Oh, I guess it's a lot related to it, but people are always telling you what you can't and what you shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like 99% of us, we just listen to that and accept it as like the fact of what has to happen. But then there's always like the 1% of people who do crazy stuff and just, I mean, it's like, I don't want to quote Steve Jobs because he's been quoted to death, but he's one person who's mentioned that. It's like the people who are crazy enough to change the world are the ones who do. I assume that he actually said that, but even if he didn't, the point is that like I was watching this commercial on the Super Bowl the other day, and there was a dude riding a motorcycle, like standing on top of it. He's basically like surfing a motorcycle down the street. And I can imagine that all his life, this guy has been told, stop doing these dangerous stunts. Don't do this. Why are you doing this? Stop doing this. And just faced like people telling him you can't and shouldn't do this the whole time. And he's made a career off of it. Like literally he's in a Super Bowl commercial doing something that everybody told him he shouldn't or can't do.
It's sort of on a related note. I think something that bothers me is when people like chastise people for not going into a so-called realistic field. Like, if you're studying anything that isn't like science or engineering, people are like, oh, well, this is why you can't find a job. But at the same time, we place so much value on the people who are doing things that are outside of those fields. Like any sort of art or movies, like people love movies, but we also scoff at people who are trying to become like actors and actresses.
Yeah. Isn't that so weird? It's like, it's almost like you're looked down upon if you're like some struggling actor. But then if you make it, you're like...
suddenly it goes to the exact opposite of the spectrum.
Yeah.
You're like,
well, actually,
praises and...
it's funny because, well, I guess like a lot of people are really unsung in other categories that they say you should be doing as well, though. Like if you want to be like a scientist, like researching medicine and disease and stuff, like you don't get any praise for that. It's kind of like you just have to love doing it.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
But like stuff like acting, I guess there is that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for achieving it.
It's weird. As a whole in society, I feel like we have a weird set of priorities.
Yeah.
But
it's like teachers, like teachers.
Yeah.
Why? That's the weirdest thing. There's two components of that, actually. One of them is food, and the other is, so teachers, like, they are literally raising the next generation of humans. Like, they are teaching them. And they're the most underpaid, undervalued, and then they're forced to, like, follow this curriculum that's very rigid. And it's like, look, you're literally making the next batch of humans.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you want like a better world, shouldn't we be investing all of our effort into that and like applauding or lauding the people who are doing it,
Yeah. And what's amazing is like a lot of these places now, teachers are having to spend their own paycheck for like supplies and stuff.
Is that true?
It's like, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of public schools at least are like getting their funding cut.
Wow, dude, that is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like a few years ago, like the neighbors down the street, they have like kids in elementary school. And they were telling us that their kids don't have recess anymore.
What?
Yeah, it's maybe there was just that school, but I was like, man, you gotta like. Okay, that's where I was going with the food. Actually, it was like the food that we're feeding kids as well. It's like literally, food is literally what you make your body with. Okay, and then like the schools. I remember when I was in school, dude, did you have like the Little Debbie snack carts where you could get all the snacks for 50 cents each?
Like that.
It's like there was no restriction on it. It's just if you had the money, you could go buy and make yourself sick with fudge rounds and honey buns and all sorts of terrible stuff like that.
Like I know some people get upset when they're like, oh, the government's imposing their healthiness on us. But it's like maybe we should have some vegetable options is all we're saying. Like, come on.
Well, no, I think the other thing is, okay, so food is an interesting topic because vegetables, like real unprocessed whole foods, are no competition for processed foods. Like who in their right mind would say, okay, I'm going to have this bowl of spinach instead of this pepperoni pizza? Like, unless you really had like the gumption and the desire to be super healthy, like your body's just going to be like, yo, I want that pizza. Like, just let's get the pizza. So I understand like the not wanting, like, I mean, really understand that too. Cause like, I don't really want people legislating that type of thing. Like just trying to legislate moral behavior. But at the same time, like there's no other options. And that's
the thing, man. That's like it's not a matter of legislating it. It's a matter of having some sort of influence so that everybody is able to get like the same sort of nutrition if they choose to.
Yeah.
Because there are places where there are no supermarkets. Like some places in the city, some places out in the rural.
Yeah. What do they call those again? Food deserts or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like Burger King is like calorie wise is your best option. And I don't know why I always use Burger King. It's like, who even goes to Burger King?
There's like some anecdote. One of the guys in Evansville was like, oh, can we go to a gas station? And like, like we thought he meant a place to like pump gas, but he meant like a place to get food. We're like, why don't you just say like the store or something?
Yeah, like specifically a gas station. Can we go to the petrol station so I can fill up my automobile and my gullet?
One thing I will say though is like, yeah, it's true that like if you put some delicious processed food in a plate of like tepid spinach in front of me, like I'll go for the pizza. But at the same time, like I've known people who. Like one of my friends lived in like the agriculture building, and actually, so he was a computer science major. The only reason he chose that building is because the word food was in it.
This dude is like,
so he lived with like a bunch of people who were like their parents were farmers and they were studying agriculture. But there was one roommate of his who just like didn't eat vegetables and like. Went to the salad bar one time, like got a bunch of ham and put ranch on it. And, like like there, I get that processed food is more appealing, but at the same time, I don't understand like why you wouldn't want some vegetables at least. Like there's a lot of tasty vegetables.
No, for sure, dude. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think the problem is like people are eating like steamed broccoli and not like something cooked well.
I feel like maybe we've talked about this before on a podcast or somewhere. But it's like my mom always told me this story that she didn't like real green beans for a long time because she grew up eating canned green beans.
Oh yeah.
So like she didn't even know what real green beans were supposed to taste like. Although that's a little bit different because she actually liked canned green beans. Like
okay, does anyone actually like green beans that are like crunchy? I mean, I know a lot of people do, but why?
Oh. I mean,
why are they wrong?
I mean, I like them, but I mean, I also like soft green beans too, like that are cooked a little bit more. I don't know. It's just like it's a fun crunch, man. It's like
no, it's weird. I've always had like a weird texture thing with like bean sprouts. Those crunchy white bean sprouts. Are kind of similar, but at the same time,
you don't
I've
like
known
those?
people who. No, but I do like water chestnuts and like baby corn, and I know a lot of people who don't like it because they're crunchy. So.
Oh man, I love those crunchy bean sprouts, especially when you put them in ramen, man.
I mean, I like them a lot better now, and I'll put them in my pho and stuff. But
oh yeah, pho is good. Oh, what I was gonna ask is, have I met that guy who ate the ham with the ranch?
No. I mean, you've met Jess, who's.
Okay, it was Jess's roommate. Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, I actually found possibly. So like diet, what people think about food, it varies vastly, right? But I think I found two incontrovertible things, truths that everybody can agree on if they're not part of an industry that needs to lobby for it.
Mm-hmm. This is Robby's food dogma.
One of them is that sugar is universally bad. Like who's going to argue for sugar? Mm-hmm. Like, does anybody want to still make that argument that processed sugar is a good thing? Besides the people in the sugar industry.
You're saying processed sugar, like, does that include
not including fruits,
or like
not including fruits or honey or stuff like that.
Okay.
Those are debatable. People will debate those till the end of time.
Although in large quantities, probably. Still.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. It's like you've probably seen like those clickbaits where it's like, this is what bananas used to look like, or this is what watermelons used to look like.
Yeah.
The fruit and stuff that we have now is like so hyper sweet because we've selectively bred the ones that are the sweetest and probably less fibrous too. So, but anyways, sugar is universally bad. I feel like that's a universal that's very easy. And you have no, what's the word? Nutritional need for it. Like there's no nutrition to be derived from it. There's only energy. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is that humans have survived on unprocessed food since the beginning of humans. So processed food is technically unnecessary.
Yeah. That's so like, I mean, I have done almost no reading on this, but people harp on the paleo diet all the time, and I get it. And like, I don't think that there's one specific diet that will suit all of humanity. But also, like, I feel like you can't go that wrong eating stuff that like Stone Age people ate. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not...
like, there's definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. That's all.
Oh, okay. There's definitely a breadth of different things and different ways to eat. I just like I was just recently thinking about it. It's like there has to be some truths that everybody can agree on, and I feel like those two seem like no-brainers.
I feel like whenever I eat healthy, I just default to like making vegetables the largest food group in whatever I'm cooking.
Yeah, there's Michael Pollan. He said that like after researching a lot of it, he's just like a food journalist, but he said eat food, mostly plants, and not too much. And that seems like a fairly safe route. It's not necessarily how I eat, but go ahead.
If Inuit people have adapted, like, I don't know,
because like they eat all fat, right?
Yeah, just pretty much all meat, at least when it's like winter, because that's all there is.
Yeah, I'm sure they adapted, right? Like,
there's got to be
over a course of many generations.
I mean, like lactose intolerance used to be dominant, I think, but.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we've adapted to drink milk.
Well, the thing is, it's like now you can survive even on terrible diets. So it's like evolution in that sense. I don't think it's really happening anymore. Like the selective, Well, anyways, what I was going to ask is, how do you usually eat one meal a day, right?
Yeah.
how does that work for you? Because I tried that a day or two ago just to see how it went, and I was starving. But
well, I don't know. It's weird. Like for me, I feel like this goes back to the whole inertia thing we always talk about. But
yeah.
I feel like if I'm not eating and I just like the longer I go without eating, the less I feel like I need to. And then like usually I just wait until I go to the gym and exercise because I don't know. In the past, I've like exercised after eating and it get cramps or like it just doesn't feel that good.
Yeah.
But then when I get back, I'll eat and the inertia kicks in and like I want to keep eating.
yeah. I know that feeling too.
Yeah.
Well, see,
but yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead.
No, I think it just somehow works out. Like,
because I'm wondering like how when should you trust your body and when should you not trust it? Because like like that's like kind of a modern like new age thing to say is like listen to your body. But man, my body will tell me things that are wrong all the time.
That's true, yeah.
So like I don't really know when to listen to be like this is just hunger because I want to eat out of boredom or if this is hunger where I actually need food, you know?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I feel like well, like people would probably say that I should eat breakfast and stuff. And there are studies that show like breakfast improves like cognitive ability in children in school and stuff. But I also feel like I don't know, like when humans first came about, they weren't doing math problems at like 7 a.m., you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, because I can still function like more or less. It's just if I'm like having to take a test or something, I'll be thinking about food instead. But
well, I thought there was research lately that has been said, because like I feel like the breakfast is the most important meal of the day was kind of like just a old wives' tale, and it's kind of gotten into.
I mean, there might be new research proving like showing otherwise, but there has been research showing that. But I mean, like science is always changing. I think that's something people don't.
Yeah, that's the other problem. I mean, like the food pyramid for a while was just like.
What is it like 11 servings of carbs?
Yeah,
like
11 servings of like wheat and pasta and stuff, and it's like, I don't think that's very healthy. What was I about to say about that? And also like maybe breakfast is the most important meal for kids, but they're also growing. Yeah. So like, is that still the most important meal for adults and everything?
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like a hunter-gathering person would not eat food immediately in the morning, but who knows?
Well, the thing is in general is that there's a tendency to, I mean, we've talked about this before, but like romanticize the past and be like, oh man, things were so much better there then. The truth is that you just fix a problem in one area and sometimes a problem creeps back up in another area. So like modern society, we've fixed so many diseases, right? And like we have a really good life expectancy, but we've kind of forgotten how to eat. Yeah. Because we have whatever we want to eat. It was in the past, it was just like restricted to what we had available.
So that's the thing is a lot of people like I've seen some comments on our channel where at least on like the first Ollie Sods video, I remember seeing a comment that was like, oh, like you wax poetic about the past, but there were all these problems. Life expectancy was like 30, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's true. Like there is, I mean, I think people mistake us when we say, look at what our ancestors did as saying like, oh, this is how we should live. Yeah. But what I'm actually saying is we should look at what they're doing and integrate it into what we have now. I mean, it's impossible for all of humanity to be hunter-gatherers, but we can still adopt some of their practices like being egalitarian and peaceful and
not making nuclear weapons, you know.
Although I will say one thing, the whole thing where everyone's like, oh, back then, like back when people hunted and gathered, they only lived to 30. That's not true. Like
that was including infant mortality, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Which like again, that's not a problem, but once you live past infancy, people were still living into very old ages. And they were very healthy.
Yeah, and I feel like people had to have been more robust then. Just out of simple fact that like there was no choice but to be robust. Yeah. Like now it's like you can be the most unrobust person ever. And it's like, it's almost like society, like there's no grand conspiracy here. It's just like, this is just
what happens.
This is just what happens. It's like we have all this entertainment at our fingertips and it's all very entertaining. It's easy. It's so much easier to just like be sedentary, absorb media instead of create media, or watch people dancing instead of dancing yourself, or watch people singing instead of singing yourself, So it's like, where was I going with that? Well, I don't remember where I was going with that, but the real trick is to take the lessons from the past and modernize them, It's kind of like the one episode of The Simpsons where Homer's like, Marge, if I learn one thing, I forget how to do another thing. It's like that time I learned how to make wine and I forgot how to drive. And then Marge, of course, says, Homer, you didn't forget how to drive. You were just drunk. But it's like the same kind of principle of like...
Yeah. It's like there's nothing necessitating that, like, that all the problems that exist, like, there's no reason for them to exist at this point. Like, I mean, when agriculture first came about, that's usually when people think that, like, inequality happened because, like, somebody was producing these things and they started owning land and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like nowadays like, back in the feudal age, maybe there wasn't enough food to go around to everybody or something. I don't know. But now we have more than enough stuff to, like, meet everybody's needs.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's just that we're not doing it.
It's so tragic, too, because, like, the statistics on food waste in the U.S., it's something god-awful, like 30 or 40% of the food that's made is thrown away.
Yeah. I mean, even, like there's the aspect of, like, customers and, like, people who buy food throwing it away, but there's also, like, the production side of things. Like, even before it leaves the farm, a lot of fruit just gets left behind because it doesn't look good.
Yeah, because it's not, like, pretty enough to put in supermarkets. And, I mean, I understand it. Like, if you put some... I mean, I understand on a certain level, but it's also, like, we have to, like, educate ourselves and, like...
Yeah.
Get beyond that at some point, because... If we keep going into the grocery store and we're like, I only want the most beautiful looking bananas or whatever.
Like, yeah.
I only drink the finest African bananas. But, well, you know what I'm talking about with that joke.
Did you know that bananas used to be different? Have we talked? We probably talked.
I mean, well, that's part of the clickbait one that I was just talking about. Like, they were all like seedy and super fibrous and stuff.
Well, like, even as recently as the 50s, they used to taste different.
Oh, really?
Like, they used to taste like what banana flavoring tastes like in candy and stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why banana flavoring doesn't taste like bananas.
Yeah, so, like, all of the bananas we eat, from my understanding, are like clones. So, like,
well, apples too. Yeah,
them.
They're actually you can't grow the same type of apple from a seed. You have to clone it.
Ah.
Which is weird, like.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same type of principle as, like, you get a healthier dog when it's a mutt instead of like a clone. Maybe we'd get healthier apples for us. I don't know.
You get better stormtroopers when.
Yeah. I don't know. So, well, I guess the moral of the story is that. Well, how do we get on food in the first place? We were talking about school lunches. Oh yeah. The moral of the story is kind of that. The problems they change, because this was not a problem. Like, you look at squirrels, like there's a lot of squirrels in my yard, so I'm always looking at squirrels, and they eat acorns like all day, but that's literally all they eat. They don't even have to think about it. It's just like, man, just keep eating the acorns until there's no more acorns left. But it's like, as a human, you can't do that because we have the ability to make our own food, and we like have taste and preferences and everything, so it's not that simple for us anymore. Which, I mean,
and I think, like, there's ups and downs, but I think we can figure out a way to have mostly ups. Like, like, I don't think we have to sacrifice, like, delicious food in order to eat healthily by any means. Like,
well, my brother, he was recently he came up with kind of a strategy where he says, eat like a pauper most of the time and then eat like a prince occasionally. So don't go crazy with, like, the indulgent, like, foods that will kill you all the time, but use it as a treat. And then it's.
But see, I think we also need to just, like, fundamentally change what we think of as indulgent in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's so many healthy dishes that are really tasty. Like,
that's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, but it kind of appeals to our addictive side because like sugar, for example, it's like when you look at brain scans of someone on cocaine and someone on sugar, it's like sugar is even more powerful.
I believe that.
I mean, sugar, man, it's like, good Lord, dude, if I could eat whatever I wanted, it would just be cereal 3 times a day.
Just go sledding down a big hill of sugar.
It's just, oh man, I haven't had cereal in such a long time. Just like when you first pour that milk on there and there's that perfect crunch, but like the cereal is I'm like, my mouth is watering thinking about it. Right?
You know, it's funny actually. I don't eat cereal that often, but recently I've had a little bit. But sometimes like after eating a few bowls or like a two bowls or something. I eat out of a mug, so I don't know what the measurement is. But like I don't know if it's because the cereal's cutting my mouth or what. There's probably a variety of factors.
Yeah.
But I start feeling like kind of sick and.
Oh no! I mean, afterwards. Like, I always it's like when I think back on it, I always kind of felt sick after eating cereal. But it just like tastes so good, and like when you're young, you can get away with it. Like now I'm past 30. It's like I think maybe that's something I gotta kind of realize too. Is I'm past 30, and like your body's just not as resilient to crap that you put inside of it anymore.
Yeah.
So like stuffing my face with cereal is just like, what cereal were you eating? Out of curiosity. Like a former drug addict. Hey man, what type of
Fruity Pebbles and Golden Crisp? Well, off-brand versions.
Golden
Came
Crisp.
in a bag.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say maybe Fruity Pebbles would cut your mouth. Like that's a super sugary one. But
yeah.
The peanut butter crunch, you've had that before, right?
Yeah, actually, that was another one. Was Crunch Berries, off-brand also.
Okay, yeah. Crunch Berries and peanut butter crunch will cut the crap out of
that
your
might be
mouth.
what we called like cut berries or something.
Oh god.
It's like you know how they put like fiberglass in chewing tobacco to like.
No. They do
Well,
that?
this is what I've heard in like high school health class, so I feel like it's probably true. But apparently they put stuff in there so it'll like make little cuts on your mouth to like get all the chemicals in there.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to fact check that. I feel like high school health class
seems
is
like
not
a
the most reliable
Snopes.
source.
I'll Snopes it real quick.
Yeah, but this is all for a joke. But it's like the crunch berries are like designed to cut your mouth open and like get sugar into your system faster.
That'd be really funny. This says, do menthol cigarettes contain fiberglass? False. And then chewing tobacco didn't come up right away. It'll only like a message board post came up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like high school health class was designed to
just
you
scare
as straight-laced as possible
yeah.
without explaining why.
Dude, like, you know what I kind of feel like my education was? Me following all the rules and then watching other people not follow them and then either get ahead from that or me realizing that I have to unlearn all the rules that I was taught. I don't have any specific examples, but well, no, I guess alcohol is one of them. Like it turned me so off of alcohol, like all this health classes and stuff, that it made me like super self-righteous about it for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, only stupid people drink alcohol and only stupid people smoke cigarettes and all this stuff.
Totally.
Instead of taking a much more pragmatic approach of just like, well,
actually, you know, that is something we could talk about because for the longest time I had the same sort of attitudes about alcohol, and I totally understand anyone who still does. Like, and it's funny because specifically related to like camping and nature and stuff. I remember my freshman year roommate was like really into the outdoors and hiking, but he was also really into like drinking and partying. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I just saw those as like conflicting forces, and I was like, these things are like the antithesis of each other.
Yeah,
like, one of them is you're in the quiet solitude, you're living healthily. The others, but I think like, well, first of all, I think it's best to just live life open to different experiences, but also, I don't know, even if they are the antithesis, they sort of have a similarity in the sense that like when I first went camping, it was opening myself up to completely new experiences. And like nature is weird because it's got this side of it where it can be very new, but it can also be something super familiar. Mm-hmm. And whereas like drinking alcohol and going in parties was like also something that was like a very new experience to me when I first did it. And I don't know, I think like it's so interesting because in general, I think of like outdoors people as like falling into two categories. and one is like people who have lived in like the country all their life, and so it's super familiar to them, and people who like have lived in the city, and I don't know, it's just interesting thinking about how it relates to people. And
yeah, well, no, it's something you just said made me think about the self-righteousness about alcohol and partying and stuff like that, at least that I experienced. I think a lot of it was masking the fear of the unknown and like the like the newness of it. So like when you like, for example, when I was in college, I didn't go to many parties, and like if I could give an excuse, and I probably like was trying to rationalize this excuse to myself, it's like, oh, I don't want to go drinking, I don't want to go be with these stupid people and party and stuff. They're just like doing stupid stuff.
yeah,
But in reality, it was probably, and not probably, in reality, it was just me being scared to go, you know, and like using that as a rationalization.
well, there's another aspect of it for me, at least, where there was almost part of me that wanted to do it. Like in a way, I felt left out because I didn't do it. And then I had to rationalize to myself that like it was something beneath me.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, that's another part, yeah. Because you know you want to be part of it, but it's like...
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no, man. It's like... Well, I mean, it's like very like third grade behavior. It's like, I didn't want to play with that anyway.
Well, there's that line in the What About Me song, the
Ego
Sugar
one?
Hill. Which one is it? The one with I've Been Away or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I've Been Away. Yeah.
But there's the part where the guy's rapping and he's talking about how he's talking from the perspective of ego, and he's saying that he hates like the unfamiliar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like the same force that like gives you pride and a sense of like self is also the force that'll make you afraid of new experiences, because like it just makes
you could look
question who you are, I
stupid.
guess.
You could do something dumb, like all this stuff. You know, I was just this is totally tangential, but I was just reading an article on like these kind of the new Jackass. You know the show Jackass back in the day. The new Jackass is all of like these YouTube pranksters and stuff, just doing stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like who shall not be named, who went to Japan and did a bunch of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
They were saying the big difference in the article, the author was saying the big difference is that in Jackass, the people doing the stunts always made sure that they were the butt of the joke. Like they were always the stupid idiot, you know? But in this new age, it's always somebody else is the butt of the joke, and they just come away looking clean, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's like really disturbing to me that like young people are looking up to people like that.
You know, it sort of goes along with like when comedians complain about not being able to say certain things. I feel like there's a very stark difference between making fun of people who are in a position above you versus beneath you, you know?
Yeah.
Like if someone like making fun of a handicapped person, like they've already got enough in their life.
Yeah. It's like they've got enough troubles as it is, but like people who are already high in stature, it's like, come on. Like,
yeah, like,
well, though in general, I just feel like making fun of anybody is like kind of like, if you make fun of yourself, that's like the ultimate. You can make fun of other people using yourself if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah,
you know, just like Louis C.K., he was always talking about like, which by the way, is his career like destroyed now?
I have no idea what's going on with him.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Looked into it recently.
I haven't either, but in any case, he in some interview he was like, so when I'm talking about like some person who was sitting next to me on the plane, I'm always talking about myself. He's like, it's always me that I'm actually talking about. I'm the idiot who I'm making fun of in the skit.
Yeah.
But it's just like self-deprecating humor can like enlighten a lot of things.
Isn't there like, do people not like self-deprecating humor or something? Like I
don't know.
I mean, I think a lot of people like it, but I've also heard like, I don't know.
Well, it's like Conan, I feel like, is the master of self-deprecating humor.
Yeah.
But it's like he also is like he egomaniacs himself all the time too.
But in a way, it's like self-deprecating.
Yeah,
it's like
because it's like so
yeah.
ridiculous. Conan is a great comedian.
Conan is still like the only late night host that I care about at all.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm totally in agreement with that. I'm so glad that, you know, actually, like, I'm sure it was very tough for him, but I'm glad that he didn't become the next NBC guy. Because if he did, he wouldn't have like his YouTube channel. And his YouTube channel is literally the only way I experience his stuff now.
Yeah.
Like I remember back in the day, I had that DVD of the Conan 10th anniversary, and
I remember watching that.
yeah. And I would watch that over and over because they were just, it was basically just like his YouTube clips where he goes traveling somewhere. But back then, that was the only way you could get it was on a DVD.
If they made a show that was just Conan traveling around and playing video games and doing stuff, like just all the remotes and Clueless Gamer parts. Like,
God, I would love that so much, dude. Like, I would want to produce that show. I would just want to be following him around with the camera.
a travel show with Conan would be unbelievable.
Oh my, dude. What if they did a crossover of Anthony Bourdain and Conan OBrien?
That'd be amazing, man.
God, that would be so good, dude. It's like Anthony Bourdain giving his pretentious like philosophy, and then Conan OBrien making fun of him like Jordan Schlansky. Dude, they should just do Jordan Schlansky and Conan OBrien travel the world. Like make a movie and a documentary and like a TV series. I'd watch all of it.
Yeah, TBS, you can pay us for the rights if.
So you just mentioned video games, and I just saw a really good Facebook post that my friend shared with me. And he's talking about how people romanticize books, or maybe that's not the right word, but they're like, oh man, I can't wait to curl up with a book and like just read a book all day, and then it'll be like a stormy weather with a nice hot cup of cocoa or something. And it's like, he was like, the post was like, I can't wait until video games can be looked at in the same way. And really when you think about it, they're just two different forms of media. It's just for some reason like, oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I feel like they'll become like that once a new form of media comes about.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually what I commented. I was like, once the next form of media comes out that old people can start blaming for all the ills of society, then video games can enjoy that.
Like, you VR using people, we used to only have one screen. We were grounded in reality. And
well, dude, actually that's kind of already happening. Like people, like the reaction that even myself has had towards VR. I'm like, I don't know about this, man. But
well, yeah, I have mixed feelings because I think there should be a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not that big a deal either.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I was gonna say that. Well, I guess it just kind of goes back to you have new problems, but like apparently back in the day, people would gather around the piano like at night instead of the TV, because before there was TV, and then they would just sing and dance and stuff next to the piano as entertainment every night. And it's hard to say. Well, I mean, I guess it's in one aspect you can say it's demonstrably worse, which is that you're not interacting with the TV and you're not like using your brain as much. But at the same time, man, you can tell some amazing stories with TV.
Oh, totally.
And like learn some amazing things,
I think maybe the problem is we think too often in like hierarchies. Like it's not that one form is better than another purely. It's just that certain forms are better for certain things. Like if you're reading a book, like that's a great way to gain knowledge. It's a great way to like stretch your imagination. But if you're watching a movie or TV, that's a great way to like have something super visually and audio, like audibly moving.
Yeah.
Although, maybe part of the stigma is that like a lot of what you see on TV is like the media equivalent of 50 Shades of Grey in books. It's like
yeah. It's like, just appealing to your most base like nature, and it doesn't really challenge you, Well,
and I guess.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, I guess maybe it lends itself to that in a certain way, since it's probably a lot easier to consume TV, but.
Yeah, that's true. Because, I mean, it's very passive. You can just sit there and let it wash over you. I think, for me, the big differentiator between good anything and bad anything is what was the intent behind it. Like, if whatever it happens to be, like 50 Shades of Grey, okay? I've never read it. I have no idea what it... I might know a little bit what it's about. But the person who made it, if the person who wrote it was just super passionate about it and was like, I must write this, and it's like a calling. If that was the intention and that was the place that it came from, then I don't begrudge any of its success. I'm like, great. And I hope that you enjoyed making it. I hope that the people who read it enjoy it. I hope everybody who's involved in it is like getting a lot out of it. It's the stuff that's just made purely for profit and to like cash in on something that I just like have no stomach for.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I feel like Star Wars is kind of like right on that line.
It's both. It's like, yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it's hard to separate the two in today's society. It's like, that's just...
Yeah, that's true. Because money is like kind of what makes it happen in the first place. So,
although like people can be pretty passionate about terrible things, though.
that's true. I mean, but like as long as it's from a genuine place. Like in general, it's just long
in general, yeah. Which is like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say as long as it's not some ulterior motive. Like if you're just wanting fame or fortune, then it's like, man, I don't care about what you're creating. You know.
So this is something I've been actually thinking about recently, because I recently, not really rediscovered, but I just started watching Iron Chef again on YouTube. And
like, yeah.
I was talking to you about this the other day, but like, there's some TV shows where they'll dramatize things in a very disingenuous way. So like Mud Road Fisherman or whatever show that you see on Discovery Channel.
Ice Road Truckers.
Yeah. Dirt Road, Deadliest Catch. They'll always focus on like these minute conflicts between the characters and like drum them up as some big thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, perfect example. I was watching this like hunting channel at my sister's place one time, and this guy hunted an animal and like didn't tag it immediately, which I guess is something before like walking to his car or something. It was like some minor rule he broke. And like the warden goes over to them and he's like, oh, this guy didn't tag it. Okay, we're gonna have to go confront him. And literally there's this really intense music and it like cuts to commercial. And then it comes back and he's like talking to him. He's like, so you didn't tag that? And like, oh yeah, sorry, I just forgot. So well, okay, I'm gonna let you off with a warning, but just remember to do it next time. And it's like there's no drama there. You're just trying to create drama. But if you look at a show like Iron Chef or like, I don't know what else, but like they drama
what else?
The 21st Century Battle, where they brought the show back to have like a big competition.
Yeah.
Chairman Kaga is wearing this like really flamboyant uniform. 4 people playing trumpets like play these flourishes, and he comes out on a horse. And like it is so incredibly dramatic, but it's like the type of drama where you can tell that whoever was creating the show was like,
yes,
look, I am really passionate about artistic, like gourmet cooking, and it deserves this sort of drama.
Yes, absolutely, dude. Yeah. It's like it's like it comes from a real place, right? Like whoever's making that show, they really, really care about that, and like it comes through. So like, even though it's ridiculous, it's not ridiculous in a way that you feel like this is stupid. You're like, this is awesome.
Right.
It's like that guy who we saw making the coffee in Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that guy cared so much about coffee, and he was just like what he was doing, like if just on the face of it, it's super pretentious and stupid. But when you see like the spirit behind it, you're like, no, this is great, dude.
I think also to his credit, he was like totally fine with us not knowing what was going on and like explaining it.
Yeah. Not looking at us like plebeians.
Whereas like the stereotype of a hipster barista would like look down on you for not knowing.
Like how dare you?
It's probably like an unfair characterization.
It's like, well, you drink Americano, you American.
the Jordan Schlansky's of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan Schlansky. He doesn't invite people into like all of his passions. He looks down on people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know it's an act, but like that's a perfect caricature of that type of mentality. Which, I mean, you know, I'm trying to think if I still do that in any aspect of my life. Because like especially growing up, like that's such a...
I feel like I definitely probably do. I just can't think of anything.
Tacos is the one for you.
Oh yeah. No, I'm trying to invite people into the taquera and force feed them the tripe tacos.
No, that's actually true. Like your method might not be the greatest because you're making fun of Taco Bell, but
Taco Bell's delicious. Everybody knows it's delicious.
Yeah, but it's delicious in a totally chemical and scientific way. It's been formulated to be the best. But just like what I was gonna say is just like such a dumb kid behavior to like try to rub your knowledge into somebody else's face. Like, I can't believe you don't know that. Like everybody knows that.
Sometimes I feel like it comes from a place of feeling like whatever you're appreciating is underappreciated.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know.
Well, it's weird. You kind of just want people. It's like a human tendency to want people to like rally behind your cause, whatever it happens to be. You want to feel like you're part of a group.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just watching the Olympics opening ceremonies, and they were talking about how the group is so important in Korea. And I know that it's like that in Japan and Korea for sure, but I don't know about the other Asian countries. But isn't it interesting how, like in Japan and Korea, I don't know that much about Korea, but the group is so valued, and like your personal happiness is almost valued is valued less than the groups. But like in America, it's all about the individual to like almost a ridiculous degree. And I feel like both cultures, they're too far on each side. Like Japan's way too far on the collective. America's way too far on the individual. And it's like, if it always comes back to balance. If you could just meet somewhere in the middle, I feel like we'd all be better off, because you'd be like, in America, our problem is we're way too focused on the individual, and we're always just like me at all costs, you know?
Yeah, I could see like both, I guess, ideologies being like a way to, like, I don't control people. Like, that sounds a little too 1984 conspiracy, but just like, I could see both of those being a way to like manage how people behave. So, for example, like a culture that emphasizes individuality and caring about yourself, it could be used in a sense to like drive you to purchase lots of goods for yourself or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But then again, like if you emphasize too much on like, oh, it's all about all of us together, that could just be a way to get like workers to like be more docile.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, if you can just find like, well, no, because like a lot of those, yeah, no, I was just going to start talking about conspiracy theories, but I can totally see what you're saying though. Like either way, they can be used against people.
I mean, but I do think in general, like having a more communal focus is.
I don't think this is a bad thing. Well, it's just like, especially in our culture, like community is really kind of taking a backseat to individuality, and like there's pros and cons to that, of course, but.
Maybe it's about who is like being told to care about themselves. It's like maybe there are certain people who should start caring more about community, and certain people who aren't caring enough about themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Depending on.
Well, I'm also kind of like not a huge believer in, like, it's a very nice idea, and I really like it in my stories and like movies and stuff like that. But the idea of the hero with the ironclad will who can make anything happen.
Oh yeah.
It's just like the general idea of the American dream of like pulling yourself up from nothing. I feel like that's such a like, it's a very romantic, cool idea, but it's not very conducive to happiness for either the hero or for people in general. Because like if that's what it takes, is if you have to be like a Casey Neistat who can just like sleep 2 hours a night, do so much every single day, just to become like comfortable in life, I feel like there's something fundamentally wrong there.
I saw this this quote from Elon Musk, and he was like, "Oh, just work 100 hours a week, and you'll get ahead of people." He's like, even if you're not working that hard, you're still working more than them. Did you know how much 100 hours a week is?
That's like the whole week.
if you have no weekends, if every single day is a work day, that's 14 hours a day. Like, I feel like we so often have this, like, really self-flagellating attitude, and, like, we romanticize work. Like, don't get me wrong, I romanticize work in the sense that, like, it feels good to get out hiking. It feels good to, like, get your hands dirty and do things. But, work can absolutely be fulfilling. But also, like, working 14 hours a day in a company 7 days a week, that is not normal. Like, that is just so antithetical to human existence. And I mean that literally. Like, human beings are not designed to do sort of like mind-numbing work for that long. Well, even like fulfilling work, I don't think we're designed to do it that long. Yeah,
that's not, you can barely get enough sleep doing that, right? And there's no time for like, how would you even find like a mate if you're working that much, you know?
I was just reading that if people produce the same amount of output as they did in 1950s, like before technology advanced. Like we're working same, if not longer hours, right?
Yeah,
But, if we produce the same amount of output, we would only have to work like 2 hours a day.
God, yeah. I was like, whenever I see my mom using technology, I'm like, technology isn't our friend. Like, unless you really like technology and like discovering how to use things, it just makes your life more difficult. Or like, it'll allow you to do more work, but the workload just increases. It's not like you get to do the same amount of work more easily. You know what I mean?
Right. In theory, that's like what everyone back then thought it was going to be. Like,
yeah.
Just look at the Jetsons. Like, we thought we were going to be like getting dressed by robots and stuff, and like people would be totally free to do what they wanted because the machines were doing the work. And like there are machines doing work. It's just
yeah. It's just like replacing jobs that people rely on for a living.
How did we get into this again?
I don't know. We've just been going from one topic to another topic. But Elon Musk, the dude is an outlier. He's just like the Casey Neistat example I was talking about. It's like you can't. We romanticize outliers to such like a ridiculous degree. I just don't feel like it's realistic, man. Like maybe it's just because I'm getting older or something. I don't know. But like the whole idea of like conquering all and becoming like this hero who's like achieved amazing things. It's just like. Yeah, you might be able to do that, and one person might be able to do that, but how does that help everybody? Like
it just sounds like you need to smoke more Marlboros.
I need to get a cowboy hat.
No, actually, it's really funny because like that hero narrative is so prevalent, and like we think of like major historical figures like presidents or like MLK and stuff, and like they were great people or whatever. But we always neglect the fact that there was like an entire group of people, a movement of people behind them. And it's like, it's not just this one person. Like it doesn't happen like it does in movies where this hero character gives a rousing speech and then
suddenly everybody's changed.
Yeah. Like in V for Vendetta or something.
I still haven't seen that movie. I'll see that at some point.
Yeah. It's pretty good. It was okay, I guess.
We've talked about that shower scene in that movie, right? Yeah. That sounds so funny because it sounds like a not safe for work scene or something. It's like, go ahead and explain what the scene is.
So in the scene, there's like the like minister of propaganda guy, like the big talking head on the propaganda news show. He's like, he's in this shower at his home and he's got like TV screens all around him and he's just watching himself give a speech and he's like reciting it to himself and he's like really into it. It's like, oh, Britain will prevail.
He's like miming the words that he's saying on the screen while he's showering. But the joke is, when we first made the first few Adventure Archives episodes and we'd watch them over and over again because they're like really excited at the time, you were always joking that you would like be watching the episode just miming what you were saying while you're in the shower. Yes, give me that philosophy. Yes, slow motion shot. Yep, dissolve. Okay, music comes in.
It's like the scene in Truman Show where the director guy is like,
oh yeah,
got the music going.
Lights up and he's like got this face. He's like, yes. Yeah. It's so funny now because we don't even watch our episodes anymore. Yeah. It's like we make them and it's like, okay, I'm done looking at that for the rest of my life. That's not true. I watch scenes and stuff. Of the episodes.
It's like, it depends what time of day it is. Sometimes I'll watch. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not quite the same thrill anymore. Okay, so we're at about 54 minutes right now. We've still got 2 more items that we could still talk about. Let's just talk about, because we kind of talked about dramatization. The other one I want to talk about was taste in things in general, but we can talk about that some other time. It's just like everybody has different tastes in movies and stuff and what they want. What I really want to talk about, we can talk about this just succinctly, is gear acquisition syndrome, which is where you get so focused on, like the example.
It's bad. Thanks for joining us.
What was that?
No. I was like, yeah, it's bad. Thanks for joining us.
Like the example I always use is my dad. He used to talk about this when I was a kid. I didn't really understand it because I didn't have my own income to buy things with. But he's talking about like tennis rackets. He would always like look at tennis rackets and be like, oh, I'm gonna get this tennis racket, and then once I get this tennis racket, I'll finally be a good tennis player or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he'd get the tennis racket and realize that nothing really changed. Like it was a slightly better tennis racket. And like in the same way, my big one is, I mean, I think for a lot of our viewers, the big one is camping gear. You know, like, oh, I'm going to get this knife. I'm going to get this new tent. I'm going to get this, whatever. And we look at reviews and stuff. For me, my big Achilles heel is cameras. Like as soon as I like get a new lens, like it doesn't satisfy me. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to use this lens. I'm like, no, okay, what else can I get? You know? Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's, so first my question is, do you have this problem with anything?
I definitely used to have it for knives. Well, you know, I don't know if I have it so much with like gear specifically, but I definitely think to myself all the time, like, oh man, I should learn this skill, and then never do it. And probably if I did, not much would change. But so, well, no, I think there are definitely situations where I'm like, I should do this, and I don't. But it's not always tied to like buying gear necessarily. But
yeah, I guess just the big thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is a tool versus what you use the tool for.
Yeah.
And I feel like I at least fall into this trap so often where I'm thinking too much about the tool and not enough about the actual experience. Or sometimes just like the acquisition of the tool becomes the whole point. Like, good example is video game collecting. At some point if you become a collector, collecting becomes more of the point than playing the games. Mm-hmm. But originally the point was to play the games. And
we imbue things with like more qualities than they have.
On a
material level. Yeah.
Anyways, it's just like something I've been thinking about. So if you don't have specific thoughts about it,
I probably I'm sure I've fallen into this, but nothing's coming to my head. But like it's not because I'm infallible. I definitely have done like for the longest time I was so obsessed with knives, and I kept looking at knives, and I was like, oh man, I need this one.
Well, what made you finally stop thinking about them?
I don't know, actually. Actually, it might have been just the fact that I started using them, and I was like, I really don't need more knives. Like, these are totally fine.
Like, oh, this is definitely good enough.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, for the longest time, knives were just like the sight of a knife was really cool.
Yeah. That's weird that I never got into that. Like, because I've gotten a lot of things, but, like, knives never really excited me. But maybe it's because I never even had any purpose for them.
The irony is that I think I was like one of the last people to get a knife among like, because like Brian's had one for a long time, and I feel like I know like Danny got one when we went camping that one time.
Oh yeah.
Like it took me a long time to get one.
Just like perfecting things can also become like problematic. Like just like always trying to make something perfect to the point of like pathological.
Sometimes it prevents you from even doing the thing in the first place. Like,
yeah, it was like you start absorbing. Anyways, like I'm just curious what other people's feelings are on that. I mean, we'd have to wait for the comments, but
yeah. Like, what sort of things do you pine after?
Yeah, it's just like this pining without any real like fulfillment. You know, like you finally get the thing, and then you're just like, well, that was great. What's the next thing I can get?
Yeah, actually, you know, I feel like I don't buy stuff, but I do have a very addictive personality, and that's probably like the equivalent is probably just me like browsing the internet late at night or something. It's like nothing on here could possibly fulfill me in any meaningful way, but I'm gonna keep searching anyway.
Yeah. Well, there were studies on rats, right, where they pushed a button and then they got a grape, right? Or they pushed like a certain combination, and then once they learned how to do that, like it would trigger a response like of dopamine, which is the habit-forming neurochemical. Yeah. And if you made it so that sometimes you got the grape and sometimes you didn't get the grape, that habit would become even stronger. So like things like Reddit and Facebook, part of the reason why scrolling through it is so addictive is because you don't know if that next post is going to change your life.
It's gambling.
Yeah, no, it's loot boxes, it's gambling, it's Destiny, engrams, it's all that stuff. Oh, Monster Hunter doesn't have that, does it?
No.
Oh man, another reason I love Monster Hunter, dude. No loot boxes in there.
It's loot boxes are kind of ridiculous because it's like, if you're paying for something that's virtual, you should at least be able to choose what you're getting.
Yes, exactly, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's so many of those loot box things that I'm like, I'll pay you for the costume. Okay, I want that little hat for my virtual
That's what
character.
we should do. We should, if you become a Patreon, there's a 50-50 chance you'll see it early.
Oh my god, dude, that would be the lowest of the low. But other people, companies do that with no shame.
Yeah.
No shame. And in fact, they're stockholders, they want them to do that to make money.
That's what happens when you become too separate from the product you're making.
Yeah.
It's
you make it. What if they did loot boxes for physical products? Big physical products. You buy a phone, right? There's a 50-50 chance it's a phone and a plate of macaroni or something.
It's you might get a different phone, or you might not get a headset with it or something.
Yeah, something ridiculous. It's cheaper, but you might not get what you want. And that's taken to the extreme, obviously, but okay, so anyways, gear acquisition syndrome. I'm curious who has dealt with this, who suffers from it, and I'm especially curious for people, what are your tactics for not falling into that trap of just for example, I bought a new coat today. It's weird, but for camping gear, I don't have that problem at all. I think maybe part of it is just I use all of my camping gear very much as tools. I don't look at them as fun objects to lust after. So there's never any of that. Once I've bought it, I'm so done, and I'm oh, thank God that's out of the way.
I just realized one reason that I think I don't get this as much anymore is because I'm such a messy person, and the more stuff I have, just the harder it is to clean up.
Yeah.
And clothes especially, there's so much stuff in my closet that I just want to donate, and I've already donated a lot of it, but yeah, it's just more stuff is usually an inconvenience now at this point.
Yeah, I wish I could do that. I mean, I'm very minimalist, but I don't know, maybe it's just kind of my personality, but I get obsessive about things of even perfecting my minimalism. Instead of just wearing the clothes I have and be how can I make this more efficient? And it's at some point you got to just stop and just be yo. But
That's
anyway.
ironic.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to close it out with these two questions?
Oh, there was questions? Okay, yeah, let's do it.
There are two of them, yeah.
Okay,
so the first one's really easy. Brian A asks, have you considered doing more hikes in northern, lower peninsula, and upper peninsula of Michigan? Yes, and we did.
Yeah,
and we will be. Which I'm sure he's aware of now. But
yeah.
The other one is Alex Tessman. What do you think of camping cocktails? Some people bring beer or a bottle or something on backpacking trips to help them warm up on a cold night. But I think there's room for pre-mixed drink in backpacking gear. Thoughts? As a hobbyist mixologist, I would be happy to mix something up if you all would like to try something. So I think I've had this misconception. I mean, a lot of parks, they don't let you have alcohol in certain areas. But I was just looking at some of the rules, and I think you are allowed to bring it in a lot of places.
Well, that's problematic because I always thought it was against the rules too.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe, I think part of it is glass containers for sure, and there probably are some places where you're not supposed to, but in Shenandoah, I was just looking and it just says it's prohibited in certain areas. And even in Hoosier, where we're about to go, it says prohibited at German Ridge Lake and Beach, and
so we
no
can
alcoholic
bring
beverages are allowed at the Hickory Ridge Tower.
So we can bring it.
As far as I can tell, I mean, that's what it looks like.
Man, because that's the big reason why we've never even thought about it before, is just because you can't do it. Mm-hmm. We especially don't want to just do it anyway and then film it,
Right.
But I would love to have a beer on the trail. That would be
mulled
so
wine or
awesome.
would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to look into that before we leave on our trip, but
yeah, as far as cocktails, I haven't really had many cocktails in my life. So I couldn't give you a good answer, but I would love to try cocktails. And
I wonder like what a
experience
good one for backpacking would be. Like,
I don't
would it
know.
just be stuff with like dehydrated herbs and stuff? Like I really like Moscow mules, and I had this Brazilian cocktail called a caipirinha, which is really good.
Capoeira, yeah, that's the martial art. Sorry.
And capybaras. And gin and tonic, I didn't realize it, but I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, gin and tonic. See, I mean, just like the times I've drank alcohol, especially like cocktails and stuff, it was never like for taste. So I didn't really think about it, but I would like to give those a try. My buddy Wyatt in Canada, he's all about those cocktails.
Yeah, for me, it's like even if it weren't for like the effects of the alcohol, even the best tasting ones, it'd be like, I can drink something better.
Yeah. Well, like just speaking of like my self-righteous phase against alcohol, like I would always be like, why would anybody drink this? It tastes terrible. But actually beer, I legitimately like the taste of. So maybe it's kind of like your taste buds change and you have to like get acclimated to it.
Actually, you know what would be awesome is like hot sake or something.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh, remember that sake we had in Japan?
Yeah.
It was like turpentine.
Oh, the one when we were camping, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good times. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think we should just go ahead and end it. Won't ramble too long. Any final thoughts?
Thanks for listening to this completely unstructured podcast.
It's like Stream of Consciousness podcast. Dude, that'd be a good name for our podcast if we didn't already have a name.
Dude, yeah. Maybe we should just change it.
Yeah. Stream of... Well, yeah, maybe when we don't have topics, we can call it that. Stream of Consciousness. Consciousness.
I'll just title this one Stream of Consciousness.
Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, cool. And you don't... Yeah, you can underline it in case anybody doesn't get the pun. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Yeah, thank you for watching and listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, see you around.
All right, see ya.